Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parikatacharya Asasata Shri Madhis Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Anantikoti Vaishnav Brinda ki, Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Radha Kunda Shama Kunda Giri Govardhana ki, Shri Brindavan Dham ki, Shri Jamuna Devi ki, Srimati Brinda Devi ki, Nitai Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. If you like, it would be really helpful to me, especially the devotees sitting in the back. Please come to the front, come forward. This is a loving exchange. So please give me your association and come close. That would be really nice. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this evening we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 4, Text 26. Śrotra-ādīnīndriyāṇi anye saṁyamāgniṣu juhvati śabdādīn viṣayān anya indriyāgniṣu juhvati śrotrādīnīndriyāṇi anye saṁyamāgniṣu juhvati śabdādīn viṣayān anya indriyāgniṣu juhvati. Please chant. śrotrādīnīndriyāṇi anye saṁyamāgniṣu juhvati śabdādīn viṣayān anya indriyāgniṣu juhvati śrotrādīnīndriyāṇi anye saṁyamāgniṣu juhvati śabdādīn viṣayān anya indriyāgniṣu juhvati. Matajis. śrotrādīnīndriyāṇi saṁyamāgniṣu juhvati śabdādīn viṣayān anya indriyāgniṣu juhvati. śrotrādīnīndriyāṇi saṁyamāgniṣu juhvati śabdādīn viṣayān anya indriyāgniṣu juhvati. Thank you. śrotra-ādīni, such as the hearing process. We're hearing. I need to hear you too. So you have to chant loudly, okay? I can't hear. Indriyāṇi, senses. Anye, others. Saṁyama, of restraint. Agniṣu, in the fires. Juhvati, offer. śabda-ādīn, sound vibration, etc. viṣayān, objects of sense gratification. Anye, others. Indriya, of the sense organs. Agniṣu, in the fires. Juhvati, their sacrifice. Thank you. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Some, the unadulterated brahmacārīs, sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. Purport. The members of the 4 divisions of human life, namely the brahmachari, the grihasta, the vanaprastha, and the sannyasi, are all meant to become perfect yogis or transcendentalists. Since human life is not meant for our enjoying sense gratification like the animals, the 4 orders of human life are so arranged that one may become perfect in spiritual life. The brahmacārīs, or students under the care of a bona fide spiritual master, control the mind by abstaining from sense gratification. A brahmachari hears only words concerning Krishna consciousness. Hearing is the basic principle for understanding, and therefore the pure brahmachari engages fully in Hare Nam Anukirtanam, chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord. He restrains himself from the vibrations of material sounds, and his hearing is engaged in the transcendental sound vibration of Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Similarly, the householders who have some license for sense gratification perform such acts with great restraint. Sex life, intoxication, and meat eating are general tendencies of human society, but a regulated householder does not indulge in unrestricted sex life and other sense gratification. Marriage on the principles of religious life is therefore current in all civilized human society, because that is the way for restricted sex life. This restricted, unattached sex life is also a kind of yajna, because the restricted householder sacrifices his general tendency towards sense gratification for higher transcendental life. Translation, please repeat. Some, loudly. The unadulterated brahmacārīs sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sva Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagadatam Sagana Raghunat Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vidamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Brindavanishvare Vrishabhanusude Devi Pramnamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So thank you very much, dear devotees, for coming to this evening's Bhagavad Gita class. We're speaking on the 4th chapter, which is entitled Transcendental Knowledge, and we're covering text 26. Chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita is divided into 5 topics. We are now presently speaking on the 4th topic, which started with text 25 and will go up to text 33, and it is entitled Sacrifices Lead to Transcendental Knowledge. So in the previous purport, in this purport to text 26, there are 2 main topics, namely the life of a brahmacārī and the life of a grihasta. But the key issue here is the hearing process. That is nama anukirtanam, chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord. To recap, in the previous purport, Prabhupada explains what is meant by the word sacrifice. He says, factually, sacrifice means to satisfy the Supreme Lord Vishnu, who is known as yagna. And sacrifice can be for worldly possessions. You know, people worship the demigods and such to get material benefits. Or sacrifice can be in pursuit of transcendental knowledge. He explains how the fruitive workers or the materialists, they sacrifice material possessions because they want more material enjoyment. Then there's the impersonalists. They understand the futility of sense gratification, but they sacrifice the material designation. They want to merge into Brahman. However, a Krishna-conscious person sacrifices everything for the satisfaction of Krishna. So this is the goal of this particular topic, is to learn how to correctly sacrifice or conduct one's spiritual life for the satisfaction of Krishna. Ultimately, it doesn't matter which vana or ashram we belong to. The first and primary duty is to control one's mind and senses. And again, this topic comes up. Krishna brings it up so many times, how it's so important to control the mind and the senses, no matter which ashram you belong to. And somehow or other we need to learn how to develop our devotion to Krishna more and more. And Prabhupada is explaining in this purport this devotion, this development of devotion, or coming to this transcendental knowledge, is through devotion through hearing, through the hearing process. We've learned in this chapter, text 13, how the Varnashram system was set up for Krishna, by Krishna, not for Krishna, by Krishna. And when Yudhisthira Maharaj comes before Bhishma Dev in his last conversation, when Bhishma Dev is lying on the bed of arrows, giving his last instructions to Yudhisthira, who is now going to be the emperor of the world, he speaks and defines Varnashram. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains how Varnashram is planned by the Lord, and it is to accelerate transcendental qualities of the individual person so that he may gradually realize his spiritual identity and thus act accordingly to get free from material bondage or conditioned life. So this is what all human beings need to do. We need to come free from animal propensities. You're not living a life of like the animals, just indulging in all kinds of activities of enjoyment, but we need to come to the human platform, which actually begins by engaging in spiritual activities, or as in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a nice title, or the general principles to be followed by all human beings. So we're discussing spiritual activities, not just for a particular class of people, or varna or ashram, but these are activities meant for all human beings. In that verse, I just cherry pick a few qualities that all human beings must develop and act upon, like truthfulness, mercy, austerity, cleanliness in body and in mind, control of the senses, non-violence, reading scripture, service to sadhus, seeing every soul as part of the Supreme Lord, and that includes the animals and the plants, to see the soul and how they're all part and parcel of Krishna. Now comes the real thing. All the general principles to be followed are also hearing, chanting, remembering, rendering service, worshipping, offering obeisances, becoming a servant and a friend of the Supreme Lord, and surrendering one's whole self. So these are the general principles to be followed by all human beings, because everyone should become a devotee of the Lord. That's the goal. At my initiation lecture, my Gurudev actually explained, once you accept a bona fide spiritual master and you chant 16 rounds under his guidance without committing offense, that's why at the initiation ceremonies we're always instructed about the 10 offenses against the holy name. So we are told to chant 16 rounds without committing these offenses, and if we follow the 4 regulative principles of no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex, then we're actually no longer in Kali Yuga. We're situated in Satya Yuga. Sometimes devotees, they speak this thing, they say, well, it's Kali Yuga. I can take responsibility for my actions, but it's not possible for me to take responsibility for my thoughts. But actually that's not correct. As devotees, again and again, like I said at the beginning, we're instructed to engage in mind and sense-controlled mind. Everything begins with the mind. What I think becomes my words become my actions become my habits, and my habits become my character. So it's our duty to embrace this practice of controlling our minds. In that purport about Bhishmadev, Prabhupada continues, he says, for the intelligent men, controlling the senses is the most essential qualification. It is the basis of morality. Sex indulgence, even with a legitimate wife, must also be controlled, and thereby family control will automatically follow. So you see, we have this choice. We are conditioned souls, so we can stay in our conditioned state and be under the control of the 3 modes of material nature. Or we can take shelter of the bona fide spiritual master and Krishna and Gauranga and be under their care and control, and thereby come to this transcendental knowledge and come to pure devotional service. Any disobedience, either in the material sphere and also in the spiritual sphere, there must be consequences. There must be some kind of suffering, as you like. Sometimes Krishna gives tough love, you know, we are chanting, we are endeavoring, and sometimes he puts us through severe tests. He puts us in situations to really make us genuine. Coming to the topic of brahmacārī, I had the great fortune to actually meet with one of Srila Prabhupada's godbrother one time in Bhubaneswar. His name was Sri Niketan Babaji Maharaj. He was 90 plus years old, And I felt very, very, very simple, very humble devotee. Nobody would know his name probably now even. It's not like a prominent figure. But I felt really fortunate to have had his association. And he was a Naishtika brahmachari. That means a lifelong brahmachari, a nitya brahmachari. We know that Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he laid great emphasis on purity, and he had so many sannyasi disciples and like that. So somehow or other we had the fortune to get Sriniketan Babaji Maharaj's association, and we invited him over into our household for lunch one time, and he graciously came, which was very generous of him, because this is in Orissa, like over 30 years ago, people were very conservative, and seeing us Westerners, they didn't trust that we are actually following, this Vedic Dharma. We're not really qualified, and that we shouldn't go to their houses and accept their food. Some people had this apprehension, some devotees had this apprehension. But this Maharaj, he was aware of that attitude, but he came very humbly, and we were able to render him some service and give him some lunch, and he kindly accepted. And he loved Brahma Samhita, so we chanted Brahma Samhita together and discussed some Bhagavad Gita and like that. And then somehow or other, because I'm coming from the Western milieu, I'm a very conditioned soul, very fallen soul. So for me, some of these Vedic concepts, even that we are discussing tonight, especially at that time, are very foreign and sometimes very difficult to understand how to practice. So I asked him, I said, Maharaj, how was it possible for you? Because he was a beautiful, even at that age, glowing, energetic, happy man. How was it possible for you to be a Naishtika brahmachari all your life, like that? And I could see he was very strict and very fixed, no cheating or anything like that. And he just said, very, very intense, continuous prayer, always praying and begging for mercy. So it's not an easy thing, but it is a thing that needs to be taken seriously and in a sober mood. And in that context, I remember my Gurudev telling a story from the Upanishads. And I wanted to share this story. As I'm always saying, I'm speaking for my benefit, for my purification, for my deeper understanding. So I thank you for giving me this service opportunity. Anyhow, the story goes, there was a great Muni called Domya Muni. He had many disciples. One of his disciples was a brahmachari. His name was Upamanyu. Upamanyu's duty or service to his guru was to take out the cows in the morning to pasture and then come back in the evening. So after some time, Domya Muni, his spiritual master, he said to him, "Hey, Upamanyu, you're getting quite fat. How is it you're getting fat?" He said, "Well, Gurudev, what I do is when I go out with the cows, in the morning when I go and ask for bhiksha, for donations, then whatever I collect in the morning, I bring back to you. But whatever I collect in the afternoon, I eat, I take myself." Hey, what are you doing? I didn't give you that instruction. I didn't tell you to do like that. You stop that immediately. Yes, Gurudev. Yes, Gurudev. And then from that day on, Upamanyu would bring all of his bhiksha, all his collections back to his Gurudev, like that. But still, after some days passed, still the Gurudev noticed he's still quite plump, What's he doing? So he called him, "Hey, Upamanyu, I can see you're still a bit fatty, What are you eating?" "Well, Gurudev, you're not allowing me to eat this food. So after the calves have finished drinking milk from the cows, I also take some milk." "Hey, you nonsense, you rascal. Who told you to do like that? I didn't instruct you. You stop that. The milk is food for the calves. You don't do like that." "Okay, Gurudev, Dandavat." And he followed that instruction. But of course, the hunger pangs are very difficult to tolerate, very difficult to control the urge of the belly. So then after some days again, Guru noticed he's still quite plump, you know, what's he doing? So he called him again, Upamanyu, what are you eating? Well, Gurudev, I can't take the bhikya, I can't take milk. So when the calves suck the milk from the cow's udder, some foam develops around their mouth. I lick that foam. Hey, you nonsense. I didn't instruct you to do like that. You stop that. Yes, Gurudev. Yes, like that. So then he went out again. And what to do? He's so hungry. So somehow or other he ate some leaves of a plant. But they turned out to be poisonous, poisonous leaves. Excuse me. And by eating these poisonous leaves, he became blind. So on his way home, after taking care of the cows, he fell into a dark well. In the meantime, the Guru is in his Guru Griha in the ashram. He's thinking of his disciple, Upamanyu. He's thinking of him all the time. How is Upamanyu? Where is Upamanyu? It's getting late. He has not come back. Maybe something happened. And he himself, together with some of his other disciples, they went out searching for him. Upamanyu! Upamanyu! And Upamanyu in the well, he could hear his Gurudev shouting, yes, Gurudev, Gurudev, I'm here. Why are you falling in this well? What happened? Oh, Gurudev, you told me not to eat this and drink this. So I was so hungry, I ate these leaves. But they're poisonous and they made me blind. So the Guru rescued his dear disciple out of the well. And actually he was so pleased with him. He said, because this was a very severe test. Guru can give a very severe test. He said, you just chant this mantra and the Aswini Kumaras, they will come and they will cure you. They will give you medicine. Okay, Gurudev. So he chanted the mantra. The Aswini Kumaras came and they offered him a piece of cake, some, special prasad. Oh no, I cannot take this. Why? Gurudev has not instructed me. No, it's okay. He's already taken a piece as well, so now you can take. No. I cannot imitate Guru. Only if he tells me, then I will eat. Until then, I will stay blind, I will stay here. I will not do anything. Acha. So then Guru and the Aswini Kumaras, they became so happy, so pleased with him, that they immediately, the Guru gave the permission, no, you take this medicine. So he took the cake, his eyes were cured, but now here comes the special thing. Or because he gained the pleasure of his Guru and the Aswini Kumaras, all transcendental knowledge was revealed to him. He became completely enlightened. So this is the lesson. The lesson is not that we're just focusing on celibacy and this regulation and that regulation, vairagya. We are focusing to accept the discipline of our spiritual master because he's the one that can give us this transcendental knowledge. That's how it's being transmitted. It's not that by our vairagya, by our activities, that we become enlightened. That only happens by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, like that. So he passed that test, he got the transcendental knowledge, and actually the same thing applies for the grihastas as well. I heard one time, when I was a young married woman, some of these concepts were difficult, to comprehend and to put your faith in. But I heard that Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he actually had a grihasta couple, disciples, and the husband, he would go out to his work, and whatever money he earned, he all gave complete to his Guru. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj would call the wife and give her the required money she needed for her household activities. So you have brahmacārīs like Upamanyu who are so committed and surrendered to their spiritual master because they can have that faith that my guru loves me and he will enlighten me, he will give me this transcendental knowledge. Then you can have grihasta disciples with that same faith. I'm completely dependent on the mercy of my guru, I will follow his instructions. And that we have two kinds of brahmacārīs. We said the Naishtika brahmachari who is free from all material desires, but we also have the upakurvana brahmachari. He is a brahmachari until the age of 24, 25. He's being trained by his guru to control the mind and senses. And then if the guru says, if he sees, or some material propensity is still there, okay, better you accept a wife, and it has to be in the grihasta ashram. It's not, that's why that training needs to be there. That's what this verse is saying. That even so, then that brahmachari comes in contact with the objects of the senses, he is not, he remains detached from sense gratification. He understands his duties, which is not easy. Actually, it's so much easier to stay a brahmachari. It's much harder to be a grihasta, a true grihasta. But of course, we understand that it's a gradual process. Like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says to Raghunath Das, he says, within your heart, you should keep yourself very faithful. But externally, you may behave like an ordinary man. Thus, Krishna will soon be very pleased and deliver you from the clutches of Maya. See, we cannot deliver ourselves from Maya. We cannot free it. We'll only get caught in the labyrinth of our own mental speculation. We need the mercy of Guru and Krishna. And when Krishna is pleased, he can take you like that out of Maya, you see. So he is instructing that internally you think of Krishna, man mana bhava mad bhakta, and externally you perform your duty, and that is to come completely detached from material enjoyment. That is the focus. To develop strong attachment to the lotus feet of Krishna. A devotee doesn't want material desires, he doesn't want liberation, he only wants Krishna bhajan, or like Prabhupada says here, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That is a niskinchana bhakta, like that. So we were speaking about the 10 offenses, so we know the last offense is to maintain material attachments despite hearing so many instructions on the matter. So this I and my principle. When you're a brahmachari, it's easy. Nothing belongs to you. I've had brahmacharis tell me, Anuradha, when you're a brahmachari, you're nothing. You're just a menial servant to anybody, like that. You don't own anything. But then if you enter the grihasta ashram, then that danger comes. My wife, my house, my car, my bank balance. And to become again attached to it. So how to maintain that inner mood of detachment is only possible when you continue to see everything in relationship with Krishna. It's Krishna's dasi, it's Krishna's house, it's Krishna's money. And this is very serious because to maintain this idea of I and mine is an offense that we need to guard ourselves against. So, like I said, a true grihasta, my Gurudev gives a beautiful lecture on this, a true grihasta is greater than a sannyasi. A true grihasta is greater than a sannyasi. A sannyasi, he doesn't deal closely with women. He has no dealings with them. He doesn't surround himself with ladies. You see, he has no interaction, no intimate interaction anyhow. Whereas once you're in the grihasta ashram, you're living with a wife in the same house, in the same room. You're eating together. You're sharing so many things. You have children together. So you're constantly in that association. And we know from Bhagavatam, man is the butter pot and woman is the fire. When you bring the two together, then there's a reaction. So for a man to maintain this mind and sense control in the Grihastha ashram, for the ladies as well, is most courageous. Most courageous. It's very commendable. And the purpose of sex life is to produce Krishna conscious children. I know I'm speaking very general and just sort of brushing over the surface of many, many important topics, but that's because of the time limit also. But it's just very important to continuously be reminded of these things, because Bhagavatam, 11th canto Bhagavatam says, allowing sexual intercourse with one's, sexual intercourse is allowed with one's lawfully wedded wife at the proper time of the month. Lawfully wedded means Vedic marriage. Vedic marriage means not just some wild party where the whole family comes together and eats and drinks and parties, dances, whatever. No, a Vedic marriage means it's a sacrifice. There's the fire yajna, and vows are being made before the Vaishnavas, before Guru, before the deities, before society, before the priest, before God, you see. So then illicit sex means sex outside of marriage. But if you see your wedded wife also as the object of enjoyment, that is also classified as illicit sex. And Bhagavatam warns, if you engage in these activities and again become bewildered, you can lose your bhakti. So that is the danger. And Prahlad Maharaj, of course, he gives so many warnings. How will it be possible? How is it possible to give up your sweet wife who's speaking nice, sweet words to you in an intimate, secluded place? You hear the sweet babbling of your children, daddy, mommy. How can you give it up? How can you give up your elderly parents, your household items, your servants, your domestic animals, all of these things? How is it possible? And again, we are brought back to this point, Harinama Anukirtanam. Only by taking shelter of the holy name, by taking shelter of Krishna Katha. Niraparadinama loyal, Paya Krishna Dana. Harinam Chintamani teaches that if we chant the holy name without committing offense, near aparade, then the treasure of Krishna Prema, Krishna Dana, will be given to us. That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's promise. And this is also the process, again, the hearing process of how to turn our lust into prema. If we're chanting the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, with sincere feeling, a simple heart, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he promises he will bestow Krishna Prema. And it's only when we have this love for Krishna, for Guru and Krishna, can we actually speak about surrender. That is true faith. That is true surrender when we have love for Guru and Krishna. Now again, Nama Anukirtanam. That is actually a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, chapter 1, text 11, which is entitled, The First Step in God Realization. See, again, the first step is mind and sense control. O King, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord after the ways of the great authorities is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all, including those who are free from all material desires, those who are desirous of all material enjoyment, and also those who are self-satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge. Key words here is by the ways of the great authorities. So all of the Mahajans, all of the Acharyas, Krishna himself coming as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has shown that this is the way. This is the way to become free from material attachment and develop love for God, is by chanting the holy name. Doubtless, many times different situations present themselves to us, and we don't know how to decide. Is this right? Is this right? We have so many doubts. How to make decisions. how to understand the correct path. But if we're taking shelter of the holy name, all of our doubts will be mitigated, and the chanting in of itself is definitely the doubtless way to go about. This is what's being stressed, and it's the fearless way. We're living in a dreadful age. So many horrific things are going on all over the world. Devotees are suffering. The world is suffering. So many people are suffering. So many people are confused. It's a very sad, crazy state of affairs, actually. So much fear. But we take shelter of the holy name. We spread the holy name. And all of our fears will be mitigated because we're in the correct shelter. We're following the correct process. And it is there for all. Indiscriminately, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives this opportunity that through this chanting we can achieve love of God. So in conclusion, I just would like to say the key point was this hearing process. Hearing Krishna Katha. Because Krishna and Krishna's name, or Krishna and his Katha, are eternal. They're non-different. Krishna and Krishna Katha, Krishna and Krishna's name are non-different, and they're eternal. They're transcendental. And this hearing process actually can only properly begin, as Prabhupada explains in Nectar of Instruction, once you've come to the platform of Nishtha, of becoming fixed in firm faith. You've heard this knowledge, you understand what is transcendental knowledge, and you've completely put your faith and surrendered yourself to this process. There's no more doubt. You have come through the process of anatta nivritti. As long as our heart is filled with many different anattas, actually our mind won't be able to be fixed in methodical hearing with resolute intelligence. And that's what's required. It's not just oh yes, I attended every Srimad Bhagavatam class this week. I was there, I sat there. Yeah, okay, I texted a few messages and this and that. But really, how much were you sitting and listening with resolute intelligence and focus and absorbing this transcendental knowledge? Of course, Bhagavatam always explains that we must hear from the pure devotee. We must hear from somebody who carries Krishna in the heart, who is free from material desires, so that we can get the correct benefit, that their bhav, their devotion will come into our heart. There's this issue of shishastva. He who hears is a disciple. He who hears is a disciple, is a true disciple. And unless you surrender, you can't hear. And unless you have love, there's no question of surrender. My Gurudev would explain your surrender is at best partial or conditional or even artificial. So this surrender means full surrender with full faith and love to Guru and Krishna, and in that mood, with that focus, hearing his Krishna Katha. Because Krishna descends in his Krishna Katha. He specifically comes to give his Krishna Katha because he feels love for his devotees who are crying to him out of separation. So this discipleship is eternal because this hearing process is eternal. Guru does kirtan and the disciple hears. And that is an eternal process. That goes on here in our material world, and it goes on even when we are back home, back to Godhead. This hearing of Krishna Katha is going. Mother Yashoda, she's churning the butter. She's singing Krishna's glorification, remembering Krishna. Radharani's crying in separation for Krishna. She's coming together with the other Sakhis and Gopis and speaking Krishna Katha and chanting Hare Krishna. So it's an eternal activity. So this determination is necessary to apply oneself. And what is the determination? Who can... I'm always get a bit clumsy when I chant slokas in public. Who can tell me Shikshastakam, the last verse of Shikshastakam? Ashlisyava padam ridastu mam. Please loudly sing it. Sing the last verse of Shikshastakam. Kotava. Thank you. Sorry. I know the verse. Of course, we all know the verse. But sometimes when I chant in public, my tongue goes funny. So because of nervousness. Ashlishyava padaratam pinastu mam adashanam mahatam koroto va yatatata va vidadatulam pato matprananatas tu sevana para. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. So as we just learned in the story of Upamanyu, he had such unconditional surrender to his guru that he strictly followed his instructions and thereby received his mercy. So similarly, if we can embrace in our heart that really I don't want anything, nadanam najanam nasundarim, I don't want anything, I just want the satisfaction of Krishna, I just want to be able to please him and again be reinstated in my eternal service, no matter what happens in my life, and just take shelter of the holy name, then that is the perfection of our life. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So thank you, dear devotees, for your time and patience. Does anybody have a comment or a question or would like to add something? Yes? Do we have a microphone? Mataji wants to say something.
Thank you, Anuradha. Very, very nice class. So it was describing the pastime of Upamanyu and how he achieved perfection by, carrying out the order of his guru to the, perfect sort of state. I'm also wondering, because we also have this other teaching, and you may remember this pastime better than me. I'm very vague on it, but I do remember that there is a pastime when there is a guru with his disciples, and the disciples were very, very obedient, and one time, and they would only ever do what their guru told them to do. And one time they were carrying their guru on a palanquin, and the guru accidentally, they accidentally dropped their guru off the palanquin. But the brahmacārīs just sort of kept walking, and the guru is on the ground calling out, what are you doing? Why don't you come back and pick me up? And the brahmacārīs said, well, you didn't tell us.
That's funny.
Also we know this teaching that it is said that the first class servant, I think the word is servant rather than disciple, but the first class servant is he who does not have to be told everything, but he understands what the guru needs. So I'm wondering if, given these two sort of examples, if you can talk a little bit about how to strike that balance between, really only doing what the guru wants, but at the same time understanding what the guru wants without having to be told everything.
Yes. How to enter the heart of Guru. That's a very nice topic. And again, it comes back down to controlling one's mind and being focused, in chanting, and a desire to want to please Guru. And if you have that in your heart, it will become, Guru will make it obvious to you. It will become obvious to you. And yeah, I sort of vaguely remember the story that you just told, but what you're describing is also some niyamagraha, following the rules and regulations just for the sake of it, and not really having any understanding why we're following these rules and regulations, or being like sheep, following like sheep. So we don't want this mindless obedience. We want to be able to please the Guru, and pleasing the Guru doesn't just mean to sit up front or to be always close to him, like that. It means understanding his heart. And what is his heart? His heart is to love Krishna. So then there are particular moods, So yeah, many different examples are given like that. By that correct association means by service, a service attitude, then the Guru will reveal to the disciple what is pleasing and what is not pleasing. And as the disciple becomes more refined, he will be able to intuit. He won't need to be told. It's like, my Gurudev is the example. Guru says to the disciple, please go and bring me a glass of milk. The disciple, oh yes, Guru wants a glass of milk. But then just on his way out, he says, no, actually, I just want a glass of water. And the disciple goes in the kitchen. Oh, well, first he asked for milk, now he wants water. But really, better I just make him a really nice glass of milk, and I'll put cardamom, and I'll put mishri, and I'll make it just the right temperature, and I'll give him that, because that's so much better than just a simple glass of water, you see? So the disciple, when our speculation comes in, this is again mind and sense control. We mustn't fall into a trap of speculating or trying to, outsmart, knowing better. I know better what's better for Gurudev. We have to be simple, we have to be humble, we have to be obedient, like that. So then if the disciple comes back with a glass of milk, but I said, no, I've changed my mind, I want a glass of water. Yeah, but this milk is so much better for you. Then how will he be pleased? Actually, he wants a glass of water, you see. So I think mindless obedience, just following the rules and regulations without any understanding why, and becoming speculative, trying to become, using the Guru for one's own gratification, in the sense that, oh, my Guru is so great, and if I stay near him, then I'll also be famous and known as, a disciple of such and such, and like that. So it's a big topic. Does that help in any way? Yeah? I don't know if anybody else would like to say something, but our time is over. So thank you very much, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.